Welcome to 𝗂𝗏𝘁 Spotlight. I'm your host, Susan Choi. Each week, we feature a special guest to provide insights on a relevant topic in the food and beverage industry. This week, we are talking about solutions to the CPG process. Before business owners can get to that exciting step of launching their new products to the world, they have to figure out the best way of producing those products. That's where Keychain comes in. It's the world's largest CPG database, enabling product owners to connect with tens of thousands of manufacturers at the click of a mouse. Here to talk more about this new company is co-founder and CEO of Keychain, Oisin Hanrahan. Oisin, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here. Thanks so much, Susan.
All right, let's get started. First, can you tell us about Keychain, what it is and how it works?
Sure. So we started Keychain with a really deep understanding of how hard it is for brands and retailers to find great manufacturers to work with. And that problem of how do you find somebody, how do you know that you can actually figure out whether they have the right processes, the right manufacturing equipment, whether they fit your MOQs. And that challenge was one that we really wanted to address. And so we built Keychain with a really deep set of data across tens of thousands of manufacturers, where today you can go to keychain.com. Once you go through our registration process, you can search across 750,000 products, and we'll figure out exactly which manufacturers can make those products and then match you with that manufacturer so that you can connect with them and figure out whether you're a good fit for them.
Sounds like it makes a lot of sense. Oisin, can you tell us what were the main drivers for you to create something like this? What was the motivation?
Sure. So my background is I spent nearly 13 years in home services, building what ultimately became the largest market in home services in the world. So I spent 6 years building Handy, and then sold that to Angie's List, and then spent a few years running Angie to the point where it was doing, tens of billions of dollars in GMV a year, matching 10 million plus homeowners a year with over a quarter of a million service pros. And throughout that entire experience, I really enjoyed building the idea of a marketplace. I really enjoyed the matching of supply and demand. And when I met up with my now co-founder, Jordan, who spent some time in CPG, I really got enthused by this problem of, hey, there's this very real world thing that is going on every single day. All of us are going to stores, we're buying product. And what we really wanted to do was solve for the fact that it's so difficult for brands and retailers to put great product on the shelf. The process of finding a manufacturer is one that's really challenging. And we thought we can actually help solve some of that problem. We can actually help brands and retailers find the right manufacturer faster than we can help put better product on the shelf. I think one of the reasons why we go to the grocery store and sometimes we wonder why there's not healthier product on the shelf is that it's really hard to put product on the shelf. And it's extremely expensive. It's a very long, arduous process. There's a lot of steps in it. And we thought to ourselves, well, if we can make it easier, if we can shrink the time it takes to put product on the shelf, we think people will take risks. We think people will put better for you product on the shelf if we can make it easier. So you put all that together: the experience building marketplaces, the interest in CPG, the belief that we can build something at scale that can actually put better product on the shelf. That's kind of what motivated us to start Keychain.
Ease and convenience seem to be the keys here. One thing that I've noticed as I've been covering the food industry is that, especially in the CPG world, there is an important aspect of developing long-standing personal relationships between business owner and manufacturer, distributor, packager, these kinds of behind-the-scenes relationships that are, I think that only come from years of networking, working in, your given sector in this, in the food world. Oisin, how do you think Keychain can continue to sustain the personableness of these kinds of relationships through the database that you offer?
Look, I think these relationships are incredibly important. I think your relationship as a brand or a retailer with your manufacturer is one of the most important relationships you're going to have, if not the most important relationship for your business. And as a result, what we think about is not trying to replace those relationships with any, in any way. Instead, what we're saying is when you go to a trade show, we want to make sure you're spending time meeting with the right people, walking the floors of a trade show, trying to figure out who can make your product. That doesn't make any sense. Going to a trade show to say, hey, I've already figured out, here's the 5 people who can make my product, and I'm going to go directly to their stand, or I'm going to go spend time with them at their dinners or at their breakfast or lunches. That's a much more fortuitous use of time. I think trade shows have an amazing role to play in helping us deepen relationships really quickly. I think it's a great way to deepen a lot of relationships that you have in an incredibly short space of time. But going to a trade show to try and figure out who can make your product, that doesn't make any sense. That's a structured data problem. And we should be able to use technology, whether it's AI or whether it's structured data analysis, to figure out who can make your product so that when you go to a trade show, you're not wondering whether somebody has the right MOQs for you. You're not wondering whether they have your packaging format. We can just tell you in advance, and going in, hey, these are the 3 or 4 people that I need to go and spend time with. And I think that's what Keychain is all about. It's about freeing up your time so that you can actually spend it investing in those same relationships that are most valuable to you.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's just about freeing up the busy schedule that you would have as a business owner to prioritize other needs in other areas. Thank you for that insight, Oisin. And I do want to touch upon, a very impressive factoid about Keychain. You recently raised an impressive amount of funding, 18 million, in a recent round of venture capital funding. Oisin, for our entrepreneurs and our startup audiences out there, can you give some advice about, how to effectively raise funding in an economically challenging time?
Look, I think that we probably, over the last 3 or 4 years, as interest rates were super low, money supply was super high, we're in a period when it was easier to raise capital than it is today. And I think as we revert back to a more normal monetary environment, we're seeing a reversion to the fundamentals of what matters when raising capital. And I think that's about figuring out, are you in a big market? Do you have the right team to address the problem? Is the problem that you're addressing truly well understood? And do you have some moat around your business or some momentum that says, hey, this is a market and this is an idea and this is a team that's actually going to create traction or going to generate traction really quickly? And I think those things are probably more important than ever. And I think, again, perhaps a counter to the last few years, I think a reversion to capital efficiency is also really important this time. So at the current moment, I think it's important to say, how are we going to put ourselves in a place where for a reduced amount of capital or a limited amount of capital, we can actually generate an outsized impact versus the growth at all costs mindset that might have existed, in the 2020 through 2022, 3, et cetera. So I think those are the kinds of things that are important when you go to raise capital in the current environment.
All right, Oisin Hanrahan, CEO and co-founder of Keychain. Oisin, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And as always, you can check out all the great content that we've done by clicking on this playlist. Till next time, I'm Susan Choi. Take care and have a great weekend.